All right, everyone. Good morning. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi. We have lots to talk about. In fact, we have issued a First Alert weather day for Friday because of the dangerous cold that is going to enter North Georgia. So we're going to talk about that. I'm also going to let you know what a First Alert weather day is, just in case you are unfamiliar. That is one step up from the first alerts that we issue quite often. We're going to cover all of that. We will briefly talk about today as well. Today is going to be one of the warmer days that we'll have for quite a stretch here in North Georgia. So we'll get started. We're going to take you first outside. A little bit cloudy out there. Don't get me wrong, we're not going to be super sunny today, unfortunately. It will still be fairly gloomy. In Atlanta, it's 42, and we're generally in the low 40s area-wide right now. Looking a little damp out there, just a dreary day. That will be the case throughout the afternoon. Temperatures will generally climb into the mid to upper 40s. It'll also be breezy, and that breeze is kind of the precursor to the front that is going to bring us very windy conditions and also the potential for maybe some brief winter weather. We're going to talk about that as well. A lot of people, of course, asking about if there's going to be any snow. Well, I'll of course let you know that. So a first alert, that's what we issue a lot on our 7-day forecasts. That's just a change in the weather pattern. So if we have any dense fog in the morning, if we're going to have colder temperatures that we haven't seen in a while, if there's going to be widespread rain that will impact your commute, something that will be impactful or a noticeable change. But a first alert weather day, which is what we've issued for Friday, that is a significant weather event. Something that will impact you, that could impact your safety. So in this case, we're talking dangerously cold temperatures, strong wind, the potential for power outages, and of course those travel delays. This whole event, this weather system that's going to impact millions of people across the lower 48 states, that will most definitely impact your travel, and I will have a travel forecast for you within this stream as well. Let me know where you are watching from, as always, and if you have any questions, just let me know. But again, we did issue that first alert weather day for Friday because this is going to be a major impact on you. It could also, of course, lead to very dangerous conditions. We're talking the potential for maybe some frostbite. If you spend too much time outside and you're not bundled up, that could lead to hypothermia. So you want to stay warm, stay indoors. We're going to talk about anything that, or all kinds of safety tips rather, coming up here throughout this video. Clearly, we've got a lot to talk about, everybody. So again, a high impact event. A wintry mix is possible potentially as far south as the metro, maybe some black ice, especially in East Georgia. Any kind of water that's left on the road as temperatures quickly drop on Friday morning could lead to a really, really thin sheet of ice on the roadways. So it's best that you just wait to travel on Friday morning, kind of just stay tucked in at home in the warmer temperatures, of course. Make sure you turn your heat on, make sure it's working before Friday, and you'll just want to avoid the roads in the morning until we can kind of get a handle on if there is any black ice out there. This isn't necessarily our biggest concern. It's not going to impact most of us here in North Georgia, but it is something we'll be watching. What is going to impact all of us is the dangerous wind chills for Friday and Saturday, and that freeze will last through Sunday. Sunday we might briefly go above freezing in downtown Atlanta, but other than that, it's going to be very, very cold through the entire Christmas weekend. So let's talk about the potential for rain and then the potential for some winter weather. So Thursday, tomorrow, a few showers possible throughout the day. That's ahead of that front that will bring us rain throughout the overnight hours, starting around 11 p.m. in far northwest Georgia, and that front will sweep off to the southeast throughout the overnight. Here's 2 a.m. So notice that purple color. Yes, that's the potential for maybe some snow. Now at this point, the wind is going to be picking up, so a lot of that probably won't stick to the ground. It'll just be too windy for that snow to really stick. But notice that pink color, that's that wintry mix, so maybe some sleet mixed in with rain. That will be possible as far south as the metro. We could maybe have a few flurries as far south as northern Cherokee County, but when it comes to any measurable snowfall, that's not looking likely for us, except for maybe the higher elevations of the far northeast Georgia mountains. So good morning to you, Geneva from Tennessee. Hello. It's going to get cold up there too. Hopefully you're preparing for it. Rusty, Merry early Christmas. Yeah, only a couple days away. So again, Friday is the first alert weather day. Flurries will be possible early, especially north of Atlanta. Maybe some icy roads and very dangerous wind chills. In fact, those wind chill values now as far down as or for cold, I should say, as -10 to -20 degrees. I think for the most part we'll look between around -5 to -15, but far north Georgia you could experience wind chills as cold as -20, because look at the winds, 20 to 40 mile-per-hour winds possible. And again, this wind chill watch goes in effect Thursday night, so that's tomorrow night. You have all day today to prepare, so we're talking you're wanting to prepare your pipes. You want to make sure that you bring your pets indoors. You want to make sure, again, your heat works. That's all good ideas. And by the way, we are going to have extensive information on the Atlanta News First app. If you have that, we have an entire page designated for the preparation for the cold, any information. Our team of meteorologists is constantly updating stories, sending video updates there. But if you want some tips to help prepare your home for the cold, then you have that on the Atlanta News First app. We're going to be constantly giving you that. But again, you have today to prepare, because Thursday night is when we start to get that dangerous cold spilling in, and all through the day Friday, which is why we have that first alert weather day for Friday. Temperatures will feel like the single digits as you wake up and make your way out the door on Friday. If you are traveling, maybe you're still working on Friday, you need to bundle up. Any kind of exposed skin can quickly become frostbitten if you spend too much time outside. You need to layer up and just cover up as we head into the end of the week. So let's talk about those wind chill values. You're glad you don't have to go anywhere. I am with you. I mean, I have to work, but I would not want to be going anywhere. It's best to just stay indoors with the heat on. Family traveling in around 1 o'clock. Today, fine, totally good. What records can be broken? We actually aren't on track to break any records, but we haven't seen this kind of cold since 2014, 2015. We had one day at 11 degrees in the morning in January in 2015. We haven't seen wind chills this cold, or experienced, I should say, wind chills this cold since 2018. But believe it or not, Christmas has actually been cold back in like the 1960s, so we're not breaking any records on Christmas. And we'll talk about the warm up at the end of this. So Friday, again, dangerously cold. If you are headed out the door at 8 a.m. on Friday, look it up in Blairsville. -8 is what it feels like. Feels like 3 in Atlanta, -1 in Canton. Further south you go, it's going to be a little warmer, but nonetheless, frigid air. This is dangerously cold. Keep in mind, if you need to have a secondary plan for somewhere to stay, just in case your power goes out. That's another thing that we're concerned about with the wind, is power outages. So if your power goes out, it's going to get cold in your house, too cold. You don't have enough blankets, you don't have enough socks and coats to stay in your house. So have just a backup plan, maybe a neighbor or a family member that you can go see to celebrate Christmas weekend, just in case your power goes out, because you need the power, you need the heat. So through the day Friday, temperatures struggle to get out of the single digits. If you're in the North Georgia mountains, if that's maybe where you're traveling for Christmas, maybe going to see family, maybe you're doing a Christmas vacation up there, it is going to stay feeling like negative temperatures up in the mountains. It's going to be frigid, dangerously cold again. Now Saturday morning, this is Christmas Eve morning, maybe you're getting up early, making breakfast for your family for Christmas Eve to kick off the holiday weekend. You're gonna wanna get any grocery shopping done today or tomorrow afternoon. You're not gonna wanna be heading out anywhere on Saturday morning. I know a lot of places probably closed on Saturday morning, but it's gonna feel like the negative numbers all around North Georgia, including, look at Blairsville. Again, we said wind chills upwards of -20 degrees possible. It is going to be very, very cold. Family traveling to ATL on Friday. Okay, well, we'll talk about that. Again, I'm going to have a travel forecast for those of you just tuning in. Maybe you are getting ready to travel. I know some pretty busy travel days coming up. We're going to talk about that. Saturday afternoon, only going to feel like the teens. It's going to be very cold. Let's talk about that snowfall potential. So most of us not going to experience any of the snow. I know a lot of people saying, if it's going to get that cold, it might as well snow. Correct, but it is not. Here's a look at the graph model. This is one of our higher resolution models. Up until this point, we've really only been able to show you our longer range models. Most of our shorter range only go out about 3 days. So the graph model hinting that maybe in the higher elevations of the mountains could pick up like a nice blanket, a nice dusting to maybe upwards of 1 inch or 2, especially in the higher elevations above 2,000 feet. That's where we're looking for the potential for maybe some sort of accumulating snow. But for the most part, most of us aren't going to experience that. Maybe a couple of flurries flying around, but that's about it. Here's the European model. This model's done great when it comes to consistency and really nailing some of our past weather events. So this really not showing much of any either. But I do think that especially up in the mountains, they could experience some sort of accumulation of snow. Here's a look at that Christmas weekend forecast as a whole. I mentioned Friday's the first alert weather day with those dangerously cold wind chills. That will continue into Saturday. So Friday kicks off what is going to be a frigid weekend. If you have any pets outside, you're going to want to bring them inside. If you have any pipes that are outdoors, also something that I didn't know about, if you have any hoses attached to your spigots outside, you want to remove those because that can cause for some problems. Keep your garage doors closed. You're going to need to do that all weekend long because this cold isn't going to snap in on Friday and then snap right back out. It's going to continue through your holiday weekend. So Sunday is the day that we finally could go above freezing briefly. It's still going to feel below freezing though, because that wind is really just going to be brutal through the weekend. Again, wind gusts upwards of 40 miles per hour Friday. That will die down Saturday and Sunday, but not enough to completely take away a wind chill factor. So prepare for a very cold Christmas. You're going to want to just stay inside. And again, make sure you are protecting all of the things in your home, your pipes, and making sure your heat works, because you don't want to be enjoying your Christmas with your family and not having water, not having heat. That just would not be habitable, and that would not be a very Merry Christmas. So again, dangerous cold on the way through the weekend, with 20s for Friday and Saturday, feeling much, much colder than that. And then Sunday, that wind chill will continue to be very cold. So here's a look at kind of what I was talking about with the cold safety. You want to drip your pipes, open your cabinets. So for those of you who don't know, I'm from South Florida, so a lot of this cold prep is new for me, but I have made it a point to learn how to best protect you and your family when it comes to cold. So here's some of the advice. Open your cabinets, because the heat from your home can kind of help keep the pipes underneath your sink warm, especially if it's close to the outside. Keep flammable objects 3 feet away from space heaters. You want to be very, very careful with space heaters. We've seen those become huge problems in homes in the wintertime. Cover all of exposed skin to avoid frostbite and hypothermia. If you stay outside for longer than 10-20 minutes, you have exposed skin, that's going to cause some big problems for you. Now let's talk about travel, because I've had a couple people ask me about this. So I want to prepare you if you are traveling out to the west, out towards the Rockies. So they have a wind chill warning. Now, wind chill warnings, depending on where you live, are different. So for us, it's the threshold of -10 or colder. Out west, where they are used to the cold and -10 is a hot commodity, you need a threshold a little bit lower than that. So wind chill warning for wind chills as low as 55, maybe -60 degrees, okay? So I said 55, -55 to -60 degrees. It's going to be very, very cold out there. And this is really not even normal for them. That's why that wind chill warning is in effect. I do not know the last time that places like Montana and Colorado had a wind chill warning, but that is not usual. They're going to have wind chills as low as -55, maybe even -60. And then a blizzard warning for upwards to 5 to 8 inches of snow in parts of Minneapolis, up towards Nebraska, up towards the Midwest, and places like Illinois. So they are expecting a lot of heavy snowfall and blowing snow because of that wind. So your travel forecast, if you're heading out to the west or the Midwest, definitely going to be interrupted. So let's talk about when the travel will be impacted most because of this system, depending on what region of the United States you are going to. If you are traveling out west today, so we're talking places like Montana, Colorado, Omaha, Rapid City, Minneapolis, so through from the west to about the plains, you're going to be impacted today. You could expect delays. So they're going to deal with potentially blizzard-like conditions, dangerously high winds. So today the highest impact area, if you were traveling that way, is from all the way out west to places like the Rockies to the plains. And keep in mind, if you're even leaving Atlanta today, some of the flights that were supposed to be heading that way could get canceled or delayed, and that could ultimately trickle down into Atlanta. So really, this system is going to interrupt travel no matter where you're headed. But if you are headed to these locations over the next couple of days, I want to let you know, kind of prepare you for what could happen. Tomorrow, highest impact areas, the Midwest to the Smokies. So from places like Illinois, Cincinnati, so Ohio, parts of Tennessee, Missouri, you're going to run into the potential for very heavy snowfall, up to a foot of snow in places like Chicago, Illinois. So blizzard-like conditions possible there. This is going to delay flights. This is going to cancel flights. So tomorrow, if you were trying to travel, this is Thursday night. So if you head out very, very early Thursday, you might be in luck. But and really, the earlier the better, because less flights will get canceled before your flight, right? So if you're traveling to the Midwest tomorrow, especially tomorrow afternoon or evening, you might run into some canceled or delayed flights, because that is the area that's going to be impacted the greatest. Here's Friday morning. Notice potentially some icy conditions in far north Georgia up towards the mountains, maybe a few flurries. So if you're driving to the mountains on Friday, I would advise against that. I would wait until maybe Saturday, kind of rearrange your plans just because of the safety aspect. It's going to be very windy. Friday morning, there could be some ice up in the mountains, maybe some snow in the higher elevations. So you just want to kind of avoid travel in the North Georgia mountains on Friday morning if you're, of course, driving. I can't imagine a lot of people are flying up there. There's no airport up there. And then if you're headed to places like New York, so Friday I had someone ask about family traveling into Atlanta around 1 from New York. Here's Friday morning at 5, so as they're kind of waking up, getting ready to go to the airport, rain that will eventually transition into snow late Friday afternoon. So it's more than likely going to be that transition period around 1 o'clock. Now, keep in mind, the airports up in the Northeast, they're a different animal because they're used to this kind of stuff. But I can imagine Friday, that flight will more than likely be delayed because of not only all of the flights that have been delayed or canceled leading up to this, going all the way out to the west and making their way all the way to the eastern seaboard. That's going to take some time. That's going to make a domino effect because this system is impacting much of the lower 48 states. So that's just going to lead to, again, like a domino effect of delays and cancellations. So your family flying in at 1 on Friday, it's going to be a little messy up in New York on Friday. So hopefully their flight will be fine, because here in Atlanta, the weather will be a lot better. So maybe that can be helpful. But just keep in touch with them because their flight very well might get delayed. So here's a look at the travel forecast. Notice the color scheme there. So no delays is green, minor is yellow. And then when you get that orange and purple color, that's moderate to major delays. So as we go through Thursday morning, those delays spread into the plains. And then Thursday night, of course, when that weather system starts to impact the Midwest, that spreads into the Midwest. But notice you can see the major delays extending down into metro Atlanta. I imagine that's just because, again, that domino effect. We obviously have a huge hub here. We have Delta Airlines here in Atlanta, so those delays are going to ultimately trickle down from our neighbors out to the west who are getting all of the bad weather. And then as we head into Friday, the delays extend through the southeast, continuing up in the Midwest, because again, they're going to have blizzard-like conditions up there, and that snow is not just going to melt. And of course, it's going to be very windy. So expect travel delays to be very heavy Friday from really the plains to the eastern seaboard. It's going to be a pretty messy travel time throughout the second half of the week. So Mina, the weather is going to be here early Friday morning, so while you're sleeping, some of the rain could turn into a wintry mix as far south as Atlanta, maybe a few flurries, maybe some measurable snowfall in the high elevations of the northeast Georgia mountains, and then Friday, bitterly cold, windy with wind chills in the negative numbers. It's going to be very, very cold. I drive trucks around Atlanta. Any ice alerts? So ice is not a huge concern for us, but if you were traveling in East Georgia, so out towards like the Athens area, so if your route takes you along like I-20 and you're going eastbound, or even on 85 and you're kind of heading northeast, maybe could deal with some icy conditions, especially the further north and east you go. Any kind of water left on the roads could flash freeze and turn into a really thin sheet of ice. So I think it's possible. Our higher concern and what's going to impact all of us is the wind chill, the very dangerously cold wind chill. But especially if you're in east or northern Georgia, I would definitely be careful for some ice on the roadways. We're really only expecting like maybe 1/10 of an inch of rain to maybe 2/10 of an inch of rain. So not a lot, but any extra water as the temperatures drop really quickly in just a few hours, that could flash freeze into a really thin sheet of ice. So that's not a widespread issue, but it's something that is still very possible. So let's take you to that 7-day forecast quickly. Today, by the way, it's the official start of winter. It's the winter solstice, shortest day of the year, longest night of the year, and then the days will start to get longer until we make it to the equinox in spring. So tomorrow, a few showers, especially for the afternoon, just spotty rain ahead of that front that is going to bring us all of our problems. We have issued a first alert weather day that is really significant. It's important for you guys to know. We first alert a lot, but we don't issue a first alert weather day a lot for a reason. We reserve that for events that we think are going to majorly impact your day that could impact your safety. And I do think that that is going to be Friday just because of how dangerously cold it's going to be. We are not used to that kind of cold. That is not typical for us here in North Georgia. You need to take the precautions and get your house ready now, get your wardrobe ready now, bring out your heaviest coats. You know, you have to have your gloves. Make sure you're turning your car on with ample amount of time if you have to head out and about on Friday, because we are going to start around 50 very, very early on Friday morning, so in the 40s, and then so upper 40s, and then temperatures will drop extremely drastically throughout the morning. It is going to feel like the single digits just about all day on Friday. So dangerously cold. Have those pipes dripping Thursday night before you go to bed. Drip those pipes. Open up your cabinets, turn the heat on so that the pipes underneath your sink, especially if they're close to outside, can kind of stay a little warmer. You want to make sure the garage is closed. Be careful with any kind of generators. If your power goes out, you have to be very careful with those as well. And just have a backup plan for Christmas weekend. Maybe a neighbor that you're really close friends with, maybe another family member's house, just in case your power goes out, because it will be too cold to stay in your house for that. Any kind of snow. For the northeast Georgia mountains, maybe could get some sort of coating, maybe an inch or two, but for the most part, unfortunately, no. It's just going to be dangerously cold and very windy. On Saturday, we keep that first alert, and Sunday because of the wind and the cold. We're waking up at 11 on Saturday. We haven't seen 11 degrees since 2015, so a long time. It's very cold. It's going to stay feeling more like the single digits to maybe around 10, 12 degrees throughout the day on Saturday. We wake up in the teens for Christmas morning, so as you're waking up, opening presents with your family, enjoying time with the family for Christmas. It's going to be very cold outside. Probably not going to be a great day for kids to be playing with all those new toys on Sunday afternoon. And we'll have temperatures in the 30s Sunday afternoon. Someone asked me, when are we going to start to warm up? Now 46 will probably feel warm at that point. We'll go back to more seasonable temperatures by Tuesday. It does look long range going into the end of next week. We'll start to warm up even more. We'll gradually warm maybe into the 50s, maybe even 60s as we head towards the end of next week. Yeah, for the most part, we're not going to see snow. If you live in the metro, especially south of the metro too, you're not going to see any kind of snow. Maybe as far north as Cherokee County, so up towards the Canton area, maybe you could have a flurry or two, but for the most part, no snow, and a lot of the snow is going to get blown around from the wind, so it's kind of going to be a mess anyway. But again, we can't stress enough that first alert weather day for Friday. Our team of meteorologists is going to be here all day. We are going to continue to update our app with videos on air when we're on air for really a majority of the day. We're going to keep you updated on the wind chill values, on what we think about any kind of icy conditions, what we think about snowfall totals. The forecast isn't necessarily fluid. It's pretty set in stone of what we think is going to happen. And we know that this is going to be highly impactful to your day. And if you don't take the right precautions, that could cause huge issues for your home, for your safety. So you just really need to bundle up, get that house ready to go. If you need to go get any kind of covers for your faucets for outside, today's the day to go get them. If you need to get that extra beanie, you need to get those extra gloves, today's the day to do that so that you could be ready for the very cold temperatures that are on the way for Friday that will continue through the weekend. If you ever have any questions, you can feel free to message me on my Facebook. You can reach out to the weather team. We will gladly answer any questions that you do have. Just prepare for this very cold that's on the way, very cold weather that is on the way for the Christmas weekend, and we'll have more updates for you throughout the day.